Absolutely. Thanks for the intro. I'm Johnny, senior brand designer in the brand team at Webflow. Originally from Argentina, living in DC, working remotely for the world. And I hope to be up to Leo standards, and what he did last time. I'll try my best. But excited to be providing feedback.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to have you on the show here. Want to say hello to everyone in the audience. Magdalena, what's up? Chetaz, Gerardo just joined us. Jay, Eunice, Babas, Victor, Ariel, Rohan, Magdalena, what is up? The OGs in the house. Before we get too far into this thing, let's explain how it's all going to work.
Check it out.
Okay, so here's how it works. Each week, the Webflow community will submit websites for us to critique. Members of the Finsweet team, along with guest judges, will get 5 minutes to review each selected site live on air. The judges, along with members of the audience, will then have 45 seconds to submit their scores before we reveal the overall rating for each website and share our final thoughts. Welcome to Critique by Finsweet.
Okay. So here we are in the judge's view. We're all queued up and ready to rock. If anybody's looking, I think we added the links that we're going to review today to the description of the video. And so Rohan is in the background. I think one day we're going to have to introduce Rohan. Like, we keep saying Rohan's name during these live streams and things happen, but I don't think anybody in the audience knows what's happening. So one of these episodes, we're going to have to introduce Rohan, but he's kind of in the background helping us make things work. And so he'll be helping with the scoring and whatnot. But okay. So, you know what we didn't do? We didn't assign the websites. So we're going to have to ad-lib this panel. But we are going to start with this website Hatched. So who wants to take the first swing at the website, walking us through the website hatcheddesignco.com?
Yeah, I can take care of it if you want.
Emmanuel, perfect. All right. So let's get 5 minutes on the clock and take her away.
All right. So the first thing that I noticed when I opened this site is this awesome, beautiful image, well-paired colors, and I can also see that you know how to pair your fonts. So that's really nice. What I see second when I start scrolling is that you mixed up so many font styles here. You're having uppercase, lowercase, serif, sans serif, and cursive fonts all in one section, and that's a little bit overwhelming. It's hard to scan that. Normally you would want to be able to know what's going on and process the information as soon as you scroll through the site, but here you don't really have that, because first of all, there's too much text, and second of all, there's too many fonts, so it's a little bit hard to process all of that. Then on this section lower here, you have even more text, and you're still using all of these font styles. You're even having this middleweight down there on the Learn More link, and yeah, it's just a little bit too much. Other than that, the visual design is on point. The colors are well paired, the grid system is consistent, the spacings are consistent. So yeah, that's my only comment on it.
Nice, great feedback there. Johnny, take her away. What do you say as you see this thing?
So there's a lot of things that I like about this site, but it's almost separately. So I really like the mix of serif and kind of handwritten. It might be used excessively at some points, and that line is kind of so thin, and when used in lighter colors, it just it might get lost a bit. And when used in smaller sizes, it also it gets more complicated too. It compromises the readability. Color and vibe wise, I love it. At least on my screen and in the homepage, I see that some buttons they're great if they're all kind of in one line, but when they start to break into two lines, it's just it gets I don't know, it almost feels like a bug or something is broken right there. Brand collateral, full brand identity. I would maybe, make that container wider. Therefore, you would have more space for those call to actions. Yeah, I agree with what Emmanuel said about kind of like having, like, I'm okay with 3 fonts, but just the way that they're paired sometimes, it feels like it's a bit too much. And something that kind of bugged me from that slider, kind of like the quote slider at the bottom, that I've seen this in multiple sites, I would make that container full width. So the next quote is actually coming in from the right, like almost like from outside the viewport. Yep. But when your container has that like overflow to hidden, it almost feels like, like it's not there and suddenly it is. And I don't know. I always like to have that full width and get that thing on the other side.
Yeah, almost like it looks like it's coming from off screen as opposed to kind of like out of thin air or something, or give it some kind of element to hide or tuck away behind of. Another thing that I noted was you have some square buttons here and some round buttons here. So there's not a, then back to square here. And so some consistency in the buttons. And I think some spacing here, right? Like letting this section breathe, not just horizontally, but vertically. So a little bit of space here, a little bit of space here, right? Just some of this padding and margin. Also, it's uneven, the spacing here. So it looks like, you got a bigger gap on the bottom. And so just adding a little bit of padding and a little bit of breathing room, I think would help with that, some of those font issues. Because, some of it is that they're condensed in, because I do like that cursive font, but it does get a little hard to read. It's just hard when you get that small. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing. I like the little flourishes of it, like you all have said. But yeah, as in general, it feels pretty put together. Joe, what are your thoughts?
I am loving the personal custom photography on this homepage. We have the hero shot and then that section under with the photos. This seems to be the person behind the operation. And right away, before I even read anything, I feel much more at home. This feels authentic. It's real. It's not a stock photo. If you are doing business like this for yourself, get this kind of photography. Absolutely, you nailed this. Something that I do want to point out, in the hero, when you go to a smaller screen size, we have this word passionate overflowing into the graphic. So Imar, if you go up to the top, and probably even if you command plus this, you can simulate this as a smaller screen. And this word passionate is going to overflow past this. And when I first opened this on my laptop, I had this overflow. It drove me nuts. And I don't think the image needs to be this big. I would prioritize that text. Do not let it overflow, and instead make that graphic smaller on a smaller device. Great site, love it. Good work.
With the cursive test, that's a good call out there. So, okay, that's how it works. The first site review is in the books. That was 5 minutes. Now we put 45 seconds on the clock. Rohan, go ahead and open up the live scoring. Judges, you've got 45 seconds to cast your votes. And while they're doing that, I'll explain to the crowd. We're looking for scores on design here. So this is the overall aesthetic of the website. The story is the content. So what message is the website portraying, and how does it kind of take you through the narrative of, whatever the pitch is that they're trying to explore. Flair is going to be interactions, stickiness, what brings you into the site, what pulls you in, and maybe makes you want to like dig a little deeper. And the usability is how functional is the site. Is it easy to navigate? Can you get around on the site? All of those things. And so we've got 7, 5, 6. Any final thoughts from the judges here? Oh, my usability score didn't take. Okay.
I would like to bring up that seeing a site that's so personal and that I can see kind of like her vibe kind of like poured into the site is refreshing, and it's great. I would recommend this to any designer working on their portfolio.
Yeah, I agree. I think the personal touch is really nice, and I think a lot of people overlook that. It's so everybody's got a friend with a good camera, throw them a couple $100, have them take some beautiful pictures, and it makes a world of difference. So if you're looking at your personal brand. Okay, so let's look at these scores. As always, we start at the lowest, which on this site will be me at a 6.25. The next score was, let's see, that was Emmanuel at a 6.75. And then we have a tie between Joe and Johnny at a 7.25 on this website, which gives us a judge's average of 6.88, which is Okay, we're about a point away from the crowd. The crowd came in at a 5.97, which gives us a combined total score of a 6.69. So respectable starting score there for Hatched Design. Okay, so Johnny, why don't we give you this next site, which is going to be Luca Yang Lee. It looks like another personal portfolio there. And let's get, first of all, let's get this off of here. And then let's get 5 minutes on the clock. And Johnny, take it away.
All right. Luca Yang Lee. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Great hero. Tell your story with that. I feel like that animation might be too fast, or not might, is actually too fast. And just, add that extra half a second, that extra second, it will help, and it will get the message across better. Scrolling down, I have mixed feelings about scroll jacking. When somebody's controlling my scrolling, sometimes I don't know if I'm actually scrolling or not. Because as I'm doing it, sometimes like that first second, nothing is happening. And I don't really know, is my mouse dead? Or what is going on? And then cool things start to happen. I think there's some Lottie animation there with some good illustration with lots of personality. I'm still trying to understand the structure of the site. Something that I don't really like that I also noticed in the previous site is kind of like these staircase structure that sometimes, containers are more narrow, sometimes they're wider. It kind of goes in, goes out again. So in the going up, grab on, it's like a wider layout. Then you scroll down and it's more narrow. And then you scroll down again and it's even more narrow. And you have the previous clients also. It's just different widths. And I'm all about grid. I'm all about having consistent layouts. Let's see, I'm going to keep scrolling down. I also feel like there's almost different styles of illustration. Sometimes you are using grain or texture. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes there's glow. Sometimes there's not. And then you scroll down and each client has their different illustration style. And I don't know, you kind of lost me there for a bit. Illustrations are awesome. I'm not saying anything about that. It's just how they are presented here. That's it from.
Yeah, Joe, what are you thinking as you watch this, as you see this?
Yeah, it's very obvious that this person or this team has a lot of skill. That these work samples, these illustrations, what we see here is top quality stuff. I agree with Johnny here. There's a lack of structure and a lack of layout here. And I think if these were put into more of a clear layout form, it would be a lot easier to understand how they fit together. That on top of each other, it almost feels like you're just looking at different websites. It doesn't have any unity to it. And yeah, this work, again, top quality. I'd love to see a different way that you lay this out.
Yeah. My biggest gripe here, again, I love the illustrations. I think they're so visually powerful. They are beautiful illustrations. But even here, there's a visual hierarchy clashing with the buttons, right? I didn't know these were tags that I could switch through a slider. And then the button Learn More just kind of has a different, I'd like to see a little differentiation there. Right, they almost look like they're just tags, kind of describing the project.
Tags.
So these, visit the website, see more. I would just like to see more differentiation. If you want me to click one of these, or if you want me to touch or interact with this, I think making it more clear that that's some kind of call to action. Visit the website's clear. It was mostly that top one where you have multiple options here that I'm just not sure what's happening. And these two being the same kind of just... it was confusing a little bit. So I kind of agree with that. There are some nice touches. This little extra navigation, I'm not sure what it's doing here. Does it sort things? Okay, so it takes you through to the portfolio. It's a little mini nav. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Emmanuel, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah. Well, that's something that I wanted to point out with the menu. It's a little bit confusing that it's in the bottom right corner because users are normally spending most of their time on other sites and they're expecting your site to work in the same or at least in a similar way to other sites. And if you're not keeping the menu in the corner, it's not really clear what it is. So that's one thing. And the second thing is the icon for the menu is also radically different. So it's not really clear from the start that this signifies that it's a menu. First, when you click on it, you discover it, which is also like a minus point for usability here. Other than that, like when I landed on the site first, I was really expecting a lot from this site. It's really beautiful. I can see that the team knows how to develop sites, knows how to play with Webflow interactions and so on. But as you guys already pointed out, there are some issues with consistency, with the grid system that's being used here, as well as this weird staggering. So yeah, that some elements are narrower than others. If you use only two different widths, it's okay because then you create a rhythm. But if you use more than that, then it gets a little overwhelming and inconsistent.
Yeah, the other thing I would say about this menu here is that it's just a duplicate of the main nav. I thought it was like when I first saw it, oh, okay, so that took me to another page now. See, so that's even confusing because I went to this nav and I was like clicking on the work and it scrolled me down the page, where then on the top nav, it took me to another page. So I almost missed that reviewing that the first time. And that goes to reinforce the point I was just about to say, that you have two different navigational elements that don't kind of jive with each other. I would like to see this little bottom dot do something, add some additional value other than the menu. Otherwise, like Emmanuel was saying, just go with one menu. So unfortunately, our 5-minute clock reset there. So I think this review got a little bit of extra time, but no worries. We're here just to give good feedback. So we'll go ahead and cut it off there. Let's see. Let's go ahead and throw 45 seconds on the clock. Let's get the judges' votes, and then I'm going to see what the crowd is saying about some of this. We'll take a look at the YouTube comments to see what the crowd is saying. Let me just cast my votes so I can do that. Okay. So, audience.
And also on the gallery page, we have CMS library filtering. Really nice and snappy, filtering those projects in the grid. Really nice use of that. Looks great.
Nice. Okay. I'm trying to look at some of these comments. Up, guys. Cheers. Links to the chat. They're in the description. The links are in the description of the video. We're not sharing them in the chat directly, individually each time here. Okay, so scores are in. As always, we start with the lowest score, which in this case will be Emmanuel at a 5.0. Next up, man, Joe and Johnny, you are on it together today. So Joe and Johnny, again, throwing the same score at a 5.75. I was a little bit more generous here. I like the design. I think the illustrations kind of give it a pop. I don't know. I favored that a little bit at a 6.25, giving us a judge's average of 5.69. The crowd gave it a 6.15 for a total combined score of 5.78, which is, again, hey, you're out here doing things. Thanks for submitting it. Beautiful site. And let's get to the next one. Let's see. Never Over official clothing store. Never Over. Okay. Joe, I think this is you. Let's have you run through this here and walk through the site, and we'll give it a whirl. Oh, let me get the clock started. Okay, go for it.
On first scroll through this site, I really love the lack of text. We have big titles. We don't have these paragraph texts. It's easy to stop and read. It's easy to scan it. Normally, I don't like section breaks like this. Normally, I'm not a fan of these clean section breaks with every single section. It can feel very boring. But I think this site nails it. I really love how each of these colored sections has some type of gradient over it where one side of the section break is not the same side of the other section break. So it's giving me a really nice sense of layout without having this super boring every single section cut up. And look at this, we're using the yellow in there, the purple, the red. I mean, it just looks nice. The simplicity here is just winning me over. And I'm also a big fan of the hover effect on the e-commerce items. Look at that, quick add. I want to add it. Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's really not too much bad stuff I can say about this one. I'm a big fan. I like it. Clean, simple, big.
Yeah. Product pages look nice too. Very okay. I like that little sticky activity on the detail page there. Very clean. I don't know if I like the hover on that. I do like the little animated Lottie on the button. That's a nice little touch. I'm not sure how I feel about this, although it is just big, nice, and easy to hit. And the changing from sticky to not sticky, sometimes I'm not sure about that, but I get it, trying to fit the information in. I kind of tend to like leaving the call to action right at the top there, but this is a good look. Does these change with okay, it doesn't. It just takes me to a different page. I might want to see that variation change right there without going to a different item. That seems like crazy hard to upkeep, but overall, I tend to agree with Joe. For an e-commerce site, you don't always want a lot of like overburdening interactions. I would say that opening interaction is a little too fast to actually see what's going on there. So when you load the site, I'm not really able to really read what happens when that loads. So let's go to Emmanuel. What are you thinking here as you look through the site?
Yeah,
That's not as nice too.
I'm a total sucker for it. I love it. It's really, really clean. There's just a few typography styles, well paired. The grid system is consistent, but it also breaks it in a nice way, so to create a little bit of surprise. So I'm really loving it. The first thing that I noticed on this site are these hover interactions, which I have not noticed anywhere else. I haven't seen that before, and I really love the click add, as Joe said earlier. The only critique that I have about this site is that first, when I land on this site, I don't see any products, and it takes me about 10 seconds to figure out that it's an e-commerce store and that I can actually shop for products. I would maybe like to see the products somewhere up front, but other than that, I'm really loving it. It seems a little bit like they got inspired with the layout by the site of the future. I don't know if you know it, but yeah, I'm really loving it.
Nice. Johnny, what are you thinking here?
So there's a lot of things that I like. Pretty much you got me at enter, clean font, it's a beautiful sans serif. The hover effects, I think they're cool. Sometimes there's cool things that are cool by themselves, but then when you start combining them and you combine Lottie and hover and the kind of like that like glassy effect, and for me it's almost like too much. That little bag moving in the ad, I would have that as a hover animation. It's almost like an aha moment. Like you put your mouse there, it's like, oh, nice. Having that like always on loop, it's almost like for me, it's too much.
Yeah.
Then there's other minor things like the polish and the animation in the menu in the homepage and in other pages. As you scroll down, that it's almost like the background is being filled as you scroll. You have that kind of like that first, I don't know, maybe like 100 pixels where the background is filling in from the top slowly. I would just like snap that to make it like either go full or not having that kind of like intermediate state of like, there's like half a background pretty much. And that first preloader, I even believe Finsweet has a little thing for that to show that only once a day or show only that one time and only once.
Yeah.
But overall, great aesthetic. Yeah, I really like this.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is a lot of people put those preloaders and those page animations on, and that can get overwhelming if you got to wait every single time when you go back to the homepage to see that thing play through. So that's a good point. Finsweet hacks, check them out. We do yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Can I make one comment about the preloader?
Yeah.
I want to add one more piece. Preloader, we see it going horizontal. Why is it going horizontal when everything that you're doing on this site is vertical based? Look at this logo where we have this really nice horizontal line, and it's breaking across this horizontal line. We have the section breaks, they're horizontal. So I'm mixing up my horizontal and vertical naming, but the intro effect should go the other way. It should start from the bottom and go up top rather than go from left to right. And I think that's going to feel a lot more on brand because you're using a lot of this horizontal line throughout the build and in the logo. So yeah,
it could also reinforce that I need to scroll here if that's the intended behavior, because this does fill up full screen here and it's just 2 calls to action with no real indicator to scroll. So maybe that loading animation could show me, like, it could maybe tease me to like pull down the page or something. So, okay, there you have it. Judges. Rohan, let's go ahead and open up the judges or the crowd voting. We'll get 45 seconds on the clock, and let's go ahead and get the judges submit their votes. Let's see. Again, we're looking for a score on design, the overall story. So what story does the site tell here? Flair, its interactions, the stuff that draws you into the site. Let's see, what am I going to give it for that? Okay, and usability is how easy it is to navigate the site. Let's see what's coming in from the crowd here. Let's see, great website. Wondering if it's never over clothing or never over sport. I don't know. That's a good question, Magdalena. Designed and developed for me by my business, Babis. Okay. Pablo Escobar.
Great job, Babis.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there we go. Scores are in. As always, we start. Man. Okay. Johnny and I were on the same page on this one here at a 6.75 on the low end. Let's see. The next up was Joe at a 7.5. Joe liked this quite a bit, and Emmanuel really liked it. Emmanuel was super drawn into this site at an 8.25, giving us a judge's average of 7.31. Which is right in line with the crowd. Literally, tenth of a percent difference, 7.30. So a combined total score of a 7.30, which is our high score for the day so far. So good job, never over sports there. And sweet. I think the next one is She Does It Live. So let's jump back into this. Let's refresh the screen and let me clear the scores. We'll get 5 minutes on the clock. Go ahead, Joe.
I reserved this one because I have a comment from the last site we just reviewed and this site.
Okay.
That this site, you should be looking at the last site's comments to go and make edits to your site. As we scroll down this page, we're seeing some section breaks, these horizontal section breaks. And I don't get enough contrast between these section breaks. It doesn't really come. There we go. The white and the gray and then the white. There's just not enough variation here, and it doesn't get me excited. And as you continue scrolling through the page, after those few section breaks, then there's no section breaks. So we go from these very non-contrasting section breaks to no section breaks, and it doesn't have a unity for me. So if you go back in that last review, look at how they were bringing colors into those sections. Look how they were making those sections feel exciting and engaging. You're using this really nice purple, pink type color. Let's get that somewhere in the background. Let's do something with that. Yeah, that's really my biggest comment around this site, setting up this structure and just making it a little bit more exciting. Also, a little bit too much text. I just see too much text in comparison to the graphics on the site. You know, you can have text, but if there's not enough graphics, it mostly just looks text-based. And then you have a nice photo of yourself down there, and on top, let's bring more of that into this. yeah, I can see doing a little bit more with yourself here. The latest work section, it's not convincing me with those thumbnails. Yeah. So that's what I'm getting at here. This is a nice, clean site, but I want more. I want to see this back on the show in a few weeks.
Yeah. Johnny, what do you think?
I agree with that, with what Joe said. I do want to see more Eileen in this site. More of that personality. I feel like right now it's almost like too bootstrappy, or like too like template-y, or not like a template, a simple skeleton template. Skeleton template would be like a basic, almost like structure, but no design whatsoever. And like adding onto that, and still lacking some polish. I do see that in projects, the name of the projects and the content is all placeholder text, like a lorem ipsum. As a starters, I would encourage every designer to not design with lorem ipsum. That's like last decade. That's designed with at least a tentative copy. At least go for, I don't know, like invent the name of a client or something. That's more realistic. Yeah. And honestly, it's going to help you kind of like work on copy in the future. So I feel like I think it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, that's a good observation. This is probably a work in progress here. I could see kind of combining some of this, right? So like this little paragraph could be combined with this services section, to combine that with like a little image or graphic, like Joe was saying. And I think really like this, like the see all post versus the 3 columns here, the hierarchy or some kind of border or some framing, or there's just it's a little unfinished in these places. And I think that goes back to Johnny's point of just using some lorem ipsum here. So maybe this is just still a work in progress. The other thing is I see places where I can click. Okay, so the overlay, so my click indicator is not immediately showing me that I can click in certain places. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. It's like these whole cards should be clickable, or it should just be clear where I can click, where I can't click. I see the buttons. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a little unrefined, like we've said a couple times here. So Emmanuel, what final thoughts do you have for the She Does It Live site?
Yeah. First, I can see that there's no fav icon there. It's the standard Webflow fav icon, which is probably indicating that it's work in progress, as Johnny said. Then on the homepage, we're having this video background and white type on top of this. And the problem with that is that often you're not having enough contrast to the background. So what you could do to solve this, to make it more accessible, is use some sort of overlay to give it a little more contrast to the background. Then as I scroll, I'm really liking that there is not much content. It's scannable. I can understand what the services are all about and how you can help me with my business. But what I don't like about it is that it doesn't really have almost any flair. As Johnny mentioned earlier, it looks like a template. Also in this middle section here, where you're having, hi there, meet Eileen Kaiser. I hope I'm pronouncing that good. You're having these paragraphs that are a little bit too wide. So normally what you should aim for is 50 to 60 characters per line, up to 75. But if it gets more than that, it's a little bit hard to read, because you need to move your head almost to get to the end of the line, and then you forget where the next line is starting. So that's something that could definitely be improved.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, other than that, yeah, as Joe mentioned, I would love to see that again once, you give it a few more hours of love. I think it has a lot of potential. Structure-wise, it's really well made. The design, the visual part could be enhanced.
Yeah, this is a good redemption round candidate here. It has some feeling of like a WordPress template, which I hate to say.
See that you can associate design with WordPress. We talked about this on Growth last week. Sometimes you just it looks WordPressy.
Yeah, yep.
It's a thing.
Okay, well,
and
there we have it.
I'd like to do one more. one more add-on. I know we keep going over, but I can't stop looking at these hero videos. You have so many visuals here. If you just look at the visuals that are being presented in this auto-playing video, you can fill your entire site up with visuals. Now they're being kind of hidden. I mean, you have the opacity overlay. It's not what it should be. Get those individual clips, put them into MP4s, put a grid of them on your home page, and when you hover over it, it's going to play a little clip of that MP4. And right away, you're going to be able to show your work on your home page, and it's going to come to life. So use that, and don't use it the way that you're using it in the hero right now. It needs more love.
Yeah. There you go. Show off the work. Put your content right up front. Okay, 45 seconds. Rohan, go ahead and up the crowd scores. 45 seconds on the clock, and let's see what you all think. Once again, we're looking for design scores, story, content. Let's see. Okay, flair is going to be interactions, what draws you through the site. And then let's give it a little bit of that. Okay. All right, so let's see what the audience is saying a little bit. Don't you guys critique my work too? Crush me, gal. Send it in. This is a good time to maybe say that everybody who's sent in a site for review, your site's queued up. So if we don't get to it today, it is queued up for one of the next 2 episodes. So if you sent in websites, we've got like 3 episodes out now. And so get them in there if you want us to review them. We do have a bunch of those queued up for the next few weeks. So, okay, scores are in. And like always, we're going to start at the bottom of the ladder. And this time it was Emmanuel with a 4.25. We go up to Johnny with a 4.50. Then Joe gives us a 5 flat. And I was a little generous here at a 5.25. So let's see. That gives us a combined judges average of 4.75, which is just a little high from the crowd. The crowd was down at 4.14 on this one, which gives us a total combined score of 4.63, which is not bad. I expected it a little bit lower, to be honest. So that's a good score, but also a good candidate for the redemption round. So she does it live. Yeah, Eileen. It would be great to see just a little bit of touch, a little bit of refinement on this, and send this back in. We'd love to take another look at this in a future episode. So, okay. I'll take Pixetto. Excuse me. I'll walk through this one. Let me get a quick...
Rymar. I'd just like to say something.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I don't know if Eileen is watching live right now, and maybe, seeing a 4.5 might be like, wow, I put a lot of work in here. But 4.5 means areas of improvement. It means, there's a lot of promise. There's a lot to work on, but it's a lot of things that you can improve on to get it to, to that level that you want to be at. So, if you get your website reviewed here, it's a 10 out of 10. There's nothing else to do, pretty much.
Yeah.
But there's work to do, and it's a good thing.
And bravo to Eileen for throwing work out. If lots of people who are earlier in their careers, who are starting out and testing some of this stuff, may not have the heart to throw their stuff out there and say, hey, how do I get better? And so the purpose of this show is to give actionable feedback and help you all, increase and improve as designers. And so, hey, I agree. I think just having the gumption to send it in and get some honest feedback is a good sign as a developing designer or anything in life. Getting feedback on stuff openly is a good habit to explore. So, yeah, good call there. So let's get 5 minutes on the clock, and I'm going to walk through this Pixetto site. We bridge the gap between your products and customers. Okay, so nice little images here. I'm not real sure what's happening. I like it visually, but I don't know how. Oh, okay. So he's making fire and the guy's offering him. Okay. So offering him a solution visually, that's telling me a story there. I like that. Everything's spaced out really nicely. You are working with best agency. That seems like maybe with the best agency or a best agency or one of the best agencies. So maybe there's a letter or a word missing there. So just be careful with your copy. I do like these illustrations. This little 3D Ken doll toy, plastic toy kind of thing. I like that. Gives me a little bit of character. Let's see. Okay, so we get into some packages here, what we offer. If these are clickable, I don't know why the highlight, but there's no click, there's no action here. So this is a little confusing to me that I get a little highlight. It seems like I should be able to click this and go somewhere else or explore or learn more, but I can't. So let's see. Again, with these little interactions, these are great. If these are custom, I like this. I like that you're building a little personality over the site. You've got this character going back and forth, and so now our caveman, our little Fred Flintstone guy, is maybe seeing some growth, improve the current website. I do think this is a lot of copy here. So we've talked about this in the past, that it's just a little copy heavy, but it's clear. The message is clear. I understand what's asking me to do here. We've got happy clients. Okay, more testimonials. I would like to be able to control these testimonials. Is this rotating through? Maybe it's not. It seems like, yeah, I don't know. Okay, something about that is asking or begging for movement there, or for like some kind of rotating slide, or just something to think about. Resources is very nice. It's very white. It's very heavy white. I'd like to see a little breakup in this background. I'd like to see a little bit of texture, some graphic breakup, just some little something. It's here, right? So like just like you did here with these little embellishments in the background, this is great. I like that. I'd like to see that in other places on the site. So let's see, Johnny, what do you think?
So I love seeing illustrations that are not kind of like, you know, the trend or like the undraw ones or the ones from Blush that you would probably see everywhere. So these are very unique, and I like that. Personally, I would just, and this is personally, subjectively, I would just boost a little bit the brightness, just because it looks like the brightness has been lowered a bit. So, you know, whites are not whites, like gray, and the colors are kind of like faded. So just boosting that up a bit might get almost like that, like pitch feeling. Pitch.com, great website. You know, that feeling. When it comes to that hover effect for those cards, you know, if there's no action, then why the hover effect? It says for agencies, and there's like a really small icon of like kind of like a high five, of like two people high-fiving. My first thing was like $1 for agencies. And I was like, oh, wait, that's not $1. That's two folks high-fiving. Okay. As I kept scrolling down, I like this effect on like this hover effect on the button is unique. I've seen it in some like maybe like JS snippets or maybe like even like in material design code, where like depending on where you are coming from, you know, the hover effect is different. As you scroll down, you have testimonials. I have the same question as you. The S's are the navigation for the
wow. Okay.
the slider. As I was hovering over it, I saw my little pointer, and I was like, what is happening over here? And then I just clicked, and then I realized. So not intuitive. People might not be able to understand that, or people will not understand that. Overall, you know, I'm a real like big fan of white space. It's clean. The last thing is in the contact form at the bottom. The button is kind of like shifted up. I'm not really sure if that's on purpose, but it looks like a bug because nothing else has this going on.
Yeah. And I can't expand overall, the box when I reach. You know, I kind of want to expand this box, and it's blocking me from doing that. So maybe it would overlap the text there. So that's a good catch.
Yeah.
Okay, Emmanuel, what say you?
Yeah, I'm a fan of using 3D on your site because it's not so common, and you really remember it because, as Johnny mentioned, like usually all the sites are following the same trend in terms of illustrations, and then, you know, when you have something like this, it really helps you stand out. Also, the site is clean. It's using plenty of white space. The container width is coherent everywhere. What I noticed also is that on the form down there, you're not having the same ripple effect on the button as you're having on the other buttons. So that's a small inconsistency. I don't know if it was done on purpose, or if it's something that that you forgot about or gave it accidentally a different class. But there's this. And also, I think that the 3D illustrations are a little bit desaturated. Maybe it's the brightness, as Johnny mentioned, but maybe a little bit of saturation would help, or maybe both. Yeah. I don't know. But I would work on that a little bit. And I would also try to reduce the amount of copy that's being used. I mean, for me, when I'm writing copy and designing a site, that's like the hardest part because you want to tell everything. But what you should aim for is to tell the whole story by saying as little as possible. And that's very hard to do. Like, it's easy to put a lot of text on a site. It's hard to, butcher it down to the essence of it.
Yeah. Some people asking if the characters were created on Blender. Kai was agreeing on the contrast stuff. One thing I did want to point out is that we have these beautiful kind of custom illustrations and look on the home page, and even here on the bottom of this page. And then these images feel very stock. And I think that detracts from the rest of the site. When I got to the secondary resource page, I kind of expect these to maintain the same design consistency, or at least a little bit of that touch of the customization from the homepage. And so, okay, that's 5+ minutes I think we got there. So let's go ahead and get 45 seconds on the clock. Rohan, go ahead and open up the score sheet and let's get those judges' scores. Joe,
Wow.
You look like you were itching to say something.
I was just cut. Well, I was waiting.
Oh, you didn't get your time.
To speak. No.
Sorry, we ran out, and then
no,
go
actually,
ahead, send it.
Every single thing that I was thinking was already said. I'll just make a comment on why that send button probably doesn't have the effect. My guess is the lack of child nesting ability on that Webflow form submit button. So what you can do, we have a hack for this. Go up, set a different button, and you can use that as the trigger to go send the form. So you can use a different button to trigger that form submission, and you can get that effect worked into the send button. That would be my guess.
Okay.
And I did not vote as I was speaking. Hold on.
I'll hold off on that.
I completely lost my voting.
Apologies to Joe for cutting him off there. I just presumed we were out of time or that you didn't because we were out of time. So that was just, I just presumed everyone had gone. That's my bad. Okay. So is that scorecast, Joe?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So as always, we start from the bottom. Emmanuel was the low score on this site at a 5.50. I came in at a 6.0. And Joe and Johnny are once again in alignment at a 6.75. So Joe and Johnny are on the same wavelength today with their scores, giving us a combined judges average of 6. What's that? Great minds?
Great minds.
Yeah. Okay, judges average 6.25. The crowd loved the site. The crowd definitely loved the site at an 8.21. So that brings the combined total score to a 6.64, which is it's a nice little respectable score there for Pixetto, one-page site. Final note is that loading interaction again on this site could benefit from just showing it the one time. So who wants to take the last one?
We have Johnny.
Planetly. Johnny, is that you?
Let's go.
All right, 5 minutes on the clock. Send it. We will not skip Joe this time.
All right, so clean site. I like the background color, flashy, perhaps too flashy, but good with those like subtle 3D shapes. There's some Lottie, and I really like this use of Lottie, that it almost feels like a static image, but there's like some things moving. There's more like like little graphs spiraling or stuff like that. As you scroll down, that change from green to dark, love it. I really like the combination of those two colors. The slider with those 3D animations, also really good. It does feel though that almost like the I don't know, vibrance or like the brightness of those renders is perhaps too light for that background. But nevertheless, they're great. Some of the text in those kind of like tags or pills might be too small for me. But I'm seeing a lot of like almost like tab effects or like what could be tabs. And this like progress bar as you scroll down, I like that. I feel like it's sufficient and it works, When Whoa, that button, the Explore product, has a really smooth. I don't know what just happened, because it's almost like a hover on and there's no like hover off effect. So I will refresh my page again just to do that again. That's how much I loved it.
Which button was that?
I don't read the Explore product. That button, for me, it was different, and then once you hover over that, it changed. I'm gonna try that again. Yeah. So there's like on the hover, it's almost like there's like a bunch of gradients going in, or I don't know. It's different, and that's why I like it. And then it changes to white. It gets more like clean. It gets more maybe like corporate-ish to a certain point. I like that. Overall, I think it's clean. Overall, I think that it has like, I believe it might be Helvetica, maybe not, but as good as it can get with a font. And there's like a lot of different things, of like small little details that add to the whole vibe and personality of this site. I like it. I like the site.
Okay, Joe, what are your thoughts here?
Really nice use of colors. All the interactions are done really well. Hover effects, cool. Scrolling effects, cool. I'm going to give a comment for all the instances of the motion in 3D. We see it in the white cards below. We see it on the top in that slider just under the header. They're too small. You have these beautiful graphics. They're doing these really cool movements, and they're just so small. I think that they can all be expanded to really take up more space, so we can see what's going on and we can really appreciate this great work. So get those bigger, get the visuals bigger. And that comment really follows throughout the homepage everywhere, even in this tab section with the static images. I want to see more of that. This is a great site. Really like it. Good job.
Yeah, Emmanuel.
Yeah, I love that as soon as you land on the site, you understand the value proposition. It's like you understand it before you even read the text almost. This is really, really great. I also like that it's using this green color at the start, because it just looks so refreshing. Normally, you don't see that so often. You usually have either a background image or it's all white or something, but it's not so common to see a bold color like that. Also, I opened the other pages and it all looks so clean and thought through. Like structure-wise, it's great. The design is great. I can see that the person has also spent a lot of time on those micro interactions as well as the Lottie animations. Really great. Like, I don't have anything negative to say.
Okay.
The images could be bigger, as you mentioned earlier. I think everything has been said, and the text on some places is a little too small, maybe. I mean, aesthetically it looks beautiful, but for someone who has a little bit of visual impairment, it might not be the best experience. But other than that, I love it. It's great.
Okay, I found the only design flaw on the entire site. You'll see that the top edge of this renewable energy image is not rounded. And I think that is some parallax interaction where it just doesn't sit at the top. But that's really the only thing you can say about the site. I think that's just like, you know, a baby little oversight there. And if I was going to be a little critical, I would say that this transition here to white leaves me with a lot of my screen not being able to kind of read and see this section here. So, but really that's kind of nitpicking because I can read it before I get to that point. It's a little tough. So like everybody said, it's a beautiful site, very well thought out. I don't need to repeat any of that. I just kind of wanted to give it a couple dings because, you know, it can't be perfect out here. So very nice site. Looks great. I think we'll leave it there. Let's get 45 seconds on the clock. Judges, you ready to throw a score out here? Let's do it.
Oh, Reimar, just one more thing.
Yeah.
Because I want y'all to see it, and I want the crowd to see this. Click on Why Planetly, first link in the nav, and scroll down to these kind of like almost like progress bars. It's I don't know. It's very well put. and the glow and how those bars almost like, like slide in. It's unique. I haven't seen that anywhere else. And there's like that's actual text with perspective to almost make it like almost like fit in that like 3D space.
That's great. Yeah, there's a lot of great touches here. Unfortunately, we probably won't have time to dive into all of it, but yeah, this is one of the nicest sites we've seen put together here. So good work, whoever set this in. This is one of the top critique sites as far as an overall piece of aesthetic and product. So let's get 45 seconds on the clock and let's get the judges' thoughts. Let's get the crowd's thoughts. Again, we're looking for a design score. So we're looking for overall design and aesthetic. The story is the messaging of the site. What does the content tell you? Flair is going to be what draws you in. Does the site make you want to scroll down further? This is something that sucks you in and makes you want to explore. And then usability is just real simply, how easy is it to use the site? So 15 seconds left. Let's see what the crowd is saying here on this one. Many thanks for the feedback. Is this Eunice? All right, Eunice, if this is your site, great. Tells a great story. The blue background's a little too dark for me. White background works better in my opinion. Good site overall. There you go. Let's see, Kai is saying, is there a minimum font size you use? Yeah, I try not to go below a 16-point font, especially on mobile, just because that zooms in on any form, and so just for sizing, I almost always set my default body font size to 17 pixels, unless I'm using like EMs or REMs or something like that. But we usually work pixel based. So anyway, scores are in. Let's get to the top of the Planetly site here. And let's see. Okay, Joe was a little tough here. 7.5 compared to the rest of the judges, I guess. Still a great score. 7.5 is the low score. Johnny came in right after that at an 8.50. I threw a 9 at this thing, so nice little even score there, and Emmanuel's just above that at a 9.25, giving us a combined judges average of 8.56 for this site. The crowd came in just a little bit above that, so 8.96 for the crowd, giving us a total combined score of 8.64, which is that's a pretty respectable site there, Planetly. So good work, yeah, whoever created that site. And that's it. That's episode 5 is in the wrap. What do y'all think? Let's go to this view here. What's up, judges? Tell me what y'all thought here.
Yeah, I loved it.
I think
just to mention something for the Planetly site, I think that it's been designed how the Stripe website should have been designed.
That is a bold statement.
Yeah, a lot of people are gonna hate me for that.
You disagree with that, Johnny?
Stripe is one of those companies or design industry leaders that they set trends. They have a gradient in their hero, and then somebody creates a clonable on Webflow and how to actually get that, and then you start seeing gradients all around. And yeah, it's hard shoes to fill. I think that's the term. Yeah, I'm first of all, I'm thankful to be here. I love seeing the diverse set of projects. Some being more like enterprisey or corporate-ish, and some being personal sites. And just seeing how we're evaluating on design and different trends, different design styles, not better or worse, just different. And in that difference, it's the beauty.
Yeah. And it's cool to see something. We talked about this on the show Tuesday about how to build your design portfolio, and we talked a little bit about stopping people in their tracks, and that anytime you can kind of stop someone in their tracks with a design, or make them just kind of think like, oh, this is a little bit different, or there's something unique here. There's a little flavor that I need to explore. That's kind of like that Flair score, and how effective that can be. And that doesn't always follow a set of rules, right? There's no set of rules in design that says this is how you're going to stop people dead in their tracks. And so I like seeing people explore, especially with Webflow now, the ability it gives you as a creator to just think like, what can I do visually here to really make this page pop? Yeah, it's just exciting to see some of that. Joe, any final thoughts here? Oop, you're muted.
Wow. Okay, I'm back. It's really nice seeing all these user submitted sites and submitting from the community. And I'm so excited that we have a queue of sites, that there's several episodes planned out of people looking for reviews on their sites. It's awesome. Great job. Keep engaging with us and we will keep reviewing your sites. Thank you, everybody. Really nice.
Awesome. So we will be back next week. Let's see, we've got a couple of things real quick. If you're here and you want to hang out tomorrow, a couple of us meetup organizers are having a conversation on Twitter Spaces. Check out @RayTorado on Twitter. I think that's like 2 posts down or something like that on my Twitter feed. We'll have a hangout. Colleen Brady's going to be there. A couple of the other meetup organizers are going to be there. We're going to talk about how you can kind of use meetup to and community meetups to grow your presence in the community, the value of building community, etc. So we're going to talk a lot about that pretty candidly. That'll be a casual just chat that anyone can join, and we'll just talk all sorts of community stuff. And so experimenting with some of that less structured stuff will be on the Growth Podcast every Tuesday, and we'll be back here next week. So are we doing co-workspace today or nah? Did we announce that? Yeah, I don't think we committed to that.
I cannot do co-workspace.
Yeah, we'll do the co-work after the next growth episode. Unless Emmanuel and Johnny, you guys want to jump in there with folks, we could do that. Otherwise, we'll catch you guys next week. Thanks in the description of the video. If you'd like to submit a site, if you'd like to be a judge, the links are in there, and we'll catch you all next week. So appreciate everyone hanging out with us and for voting. And that's that. That's a wrap. Okay. End it. Okay.